And good morning, everybody. Welcome, Hot Takes, Goodman and Haertl. A lot to get to. Nuggets play tonight, potential elimination game. And repeat after me, Bruce, win, 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 loss, loss, loss.
Yeah, I mean, are we going to stoop to that level?
No, I never have.
I don't know if because I just don't feel like I've got any kind of idea on win, win, loss, loss relative to the Broncos. I'm just glad to have the schedule. The new schedule is here. So,
yeah. Is it like Christmas morning for you when the schedule comes?
No. But what it is a reminder of what the NFL does so well all the time. I mean, think about the people that it does matter to. And all you have to do is follow along on social media to see what a big deal this is to so many people. And just the ability for the National Football League to continue to stay and to create the news cycle. Never mind staying in the news cycle. They actually create a news cycle when they do something like, announce a schedule. And by the way, we've already known who the Broncos are going to play for months now. We just haven't known where, when, what time, etc.
If I were the NFL, I would talk to their advertising arm, their marketing arm, NFL Network, and I would do a show every Wednesday, at least a half hour, possibly an hour show, just for injury reports coming out. I'd be willing to bet you could probably make some money off of that.
Would not doubt me. I know you're saying that almost tongue in cheek, but not very much. You're pretty right.
Right. Okay. Real quick, I want to tell you about Roller Auction. The best way to buy what you want at the price you want is at Roller Auction, the leader in Colorado auctions for over 45 years. On Tuesday, May 20th, Celebrity Lanes. Remember Celebrity Lanes in Centennial? They're closing their doors and having an auction for a 3-deck conveyor pizza oven. Who doesn't need one of those? Back bar equipment, catering equipment, pool tables, arcade games, walk-in refrigerators, and more. Bidding is started at rollerauction.com. Get notifications about upcoming auctions. Just go to rollerauction.com to learn about upcoming auctions. Get what you want at the price you want today at Roller Auction. Time now for the lead.
The Lead is presented by Smokin' Dave's Barbecue. It is not just the best barbecue in town, it's one of the best restaurants in town. You can find Smokin' Dave's Barbecue in Denver, Lyons, Longmont, Estes Park, and Greeley.
Schedule really started to leak out during certain parts of yesterday before we got the official notice last night with all of the games. But when the schedule leaked about the Broncos opener against the Tennessee Titans, I immediately texted my cousin who lives in Nashville, huge Titans fan, and I said, I don't think the Titans could have gotten a worse, generally speaking, opening game draw than the Denver Broncos with a rookie quarterback, Cam Ward, in Denver. As for the Broncos, I'm not so sure it could have gone any better for the opener.
Yeah, I would agree. If I could have handpicked my opponent, it probably would have been Tennessee at home.
Yeah.
Cam Ward, as good as he is, it is going to be a rookie making his first start in the NFL against one of the most active, disruptive defenses in the league, in a fever pitch for a team that has high expectations. It's going to be, I think, a long afternoon for the Tennessee Titans. But then things get really interesting, Eric, when you start to think about, if you're looking at breaking the schedule down into 3 parts, that first 6-game stretch with 4 games on the road, and by the way, ending in London, with a quick turnaround to come back home. They didn't get a bye week then.
Yeah.
So, you're talking about 2 road games in Philly and then in London, and then you come back and play the Giants and the Cowboys back-to-back without any kind of break. So I think that it's got a heavy front load, but towards the middle and even the back end of the schedule, it becomes – I don't know. I mean, is manageable a word that you can use in the NFL? I mean, I don't want to, take anything for granted, but the tough part is the first 6 games.
Yeah, I want to look through games 4 through 7 more specifically. where it's not so much the teams are overly difficult, although two of them certainly are. It's the way the schedule lays out. Monday night game at home against Cincinnati. Short week to take on the Philadelphia Eagles. Not going to be an easy game. Then you have a short week in theory to get to London to take on the Jets. And then, to your point, no bye week. That's the stretch that it's going to be difficult. I'm not too worried about the Jets as is, not too worried about the Giants as is, but I will say this. If you are going to not have a bye week following a game in London, there isn't a better team to play in all of the NFL than the New York Giants.
Yeah.
Because in some ways you can make the case with the jet lag, might be hard to get up for the game, study for the game, work out, practice, yada, yada, yada. You're playing against your former teammate, most likely Russell Wilson. I know Sean Payton's going to be up for the game.
Yeah.
Now, granted, he's not going to be playing in the game.
Right.
But I am sure that there are a lot of guys on the defensive side of the ball who are going to be more than happy to hit Russell finally, as opposed to not being able to hit him in practice. I think Russell Wilson was a well-liked guy, generally speaking, in that locker room. But I'm sure there were more than a few guys who weren't that crazy about him as well. So at the very least, I think the adrenaline is going to be flowing just to play him, hopefully, if he is playing.
Yeah, that becomes the question. I mean, do you that far into the season see a scenario where Dart is actually the quarterback? The rookie out of Mississippi is actually
Bruce,
right?
You're forgetting about Jameis Winston, who
right?
the Broncos.
Yeah.
What if he's next?
Yeah, could very well be, right?
Yeah.
No, but I think your point is a good one. And if you look through the 7th week of the season, if you're assigning numbers to it, if you can come out of there 4-3, or my God, anything better than that, then you set yourself up really pretty well, I think, for the rest of the season. Because to your point, you're right. It's not necessarily about the teams that they're playing. It's how the schedule lays out. That is as much of a challenge as anything having to do with the teams that they're playing. So
I think if you know nothing about football, I mean nothing about football, and you're listening to this show for the first time, and I'm going to ask you this question. I'm guessing you're thinking, Eric, have you run out of things to talk about on your show by asking this question? Okay? Because it seems completely insignificant. What are your thoughts on a Week 12 bye week? Because it seems like, okay, you talk about sports, and
right.
now you're asking a question near the top of your show about not playing a game. It seems silly, doesn't it? But it is late in the season.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I think you can spin it one of two ways. It is a long way to go with that London travel to not have a bye week. But if you are in the hunt and closing in on a playoff spot, I don't think it could be any better having that bye week, Week 12.
They had a late bye week last year, and it worked well for them because they were healthy and they stayed healthy.
Yeah.
So a lot depends on how the rhythm of the season is going injury-wise. Do you have a bunch of guys that are missing time? If you don't, and you can get late in the season and get a little bit of a break, then I think it's really advantageous for you. If you're using it to just get rid of the bumps and the bruises and the turns and the sprains and all those things, maybe it's not quite as advantageous to be that late. But it seemed to work for them last year. It was a good situation, but like I said, they were healthy last year. So it was just more than anything else, a little respite to kind of catch their breath down the stretch of the season. Will it play the same kind of role this year? Remains to be seen. So I know it's the first thing that players look for when the schedule comes out. When's the bye week?
Right.
So,
when do they get to go on vacation?
Yeah, right. When do they get a little time away? So
Yeah.
I do like the fact that they get a mini bye after the Chiefs on Christmas for the Chargers at the end. And that's a flex. That's a potential flex game. So we really don't know when that would be played. But I do like the fact that they get a little break there on a mini bye going into week 18.
I mean, let's be perfectly honest here. The schedule release is interpreted on what lens you want to look through.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
I look at it through a completely positive lens. You're starting the season at home against a rookie quarterback, against a team that wasn't very good. Now let's go backwards for a second. Eventually, you were going to play Cincinnati.
Mm-hmm.
Eventually, that was going to happen. And you get an extra day to prepare for Cincinnati.
Yep.
Because you have a game the week before against the Chargers. That's a positive. Would you agree?
I do agree with that. Yes.
Well, one little hiccup would be you have a short week to take on Philadelphia Eagles, who are really good, right?
Yeah.
That's your one hiccup.
Yep.
Well, if you're going to go on the road and play in London, wouldn't you want to play against one of the most inept franchises over the last 10 years in the Jets?
Yeah.
That's positive.
Yes.
I understand that they don't have a bye week the following week, but they are taking on the team that did have the number 3 pick in the draft. The Giants stink, at least overall, when you compare them to last year. Yes, they've made some improvements, but do you really believe Russell Wilson his trajectory is going up? Do you believe that he is flatlined? Do you believe he's on the downside of his career?
Yeah.
I believe he's on the downside of his career, and there's plenty of motivation for the Broncos. So now we just took what many people are saying as, wow, that 4-game stretch is difficult. Honestly, I see it as positively, I think, as you can see it. So with that, you brought up something else. A couple of other good things. The bye week gives them 2 weeks to prepare for Washington.
Right.
Positive, right?
Yes, it is.
Thursday night game against the Raiders gives them 10 days to prepare against the Chiefs. That's a positive, don't you think?
Sure.
The game against the Chiefs on Christmas gives them 10 days as well to prepare against the Chargers.
Yeah.
A lot of positives there.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. The 2 Thursday games give you some extra time, which I guess in the grand scheme of things probably works out pretty well. You always like the extra time to prepare, the extra time to just to relax, to rest, to refurbish.
Right.
And so those are good things. Absolutely. I like the schedule. And when I saw this yesterday, I felt like, okay, this is a good manageable schedule as long as you can deal with the travel early on and when better to take on tough travel than early in the season, right? I mean,
Right.
If you're going to do it, let's do it early in the season, get it out of the way. Because it's good stuff.
They're potentially big games, tougher games, all right, come with extra time to prepare.
Mhm.
Again, Thursday night game against Vegas, November 6th. 10 days later, they play the Chiefs at home. That's going to be a hard game. Bye week. Then 2 weeks later, they take on Washington. That is going to be a tough game. They play Kansas City on Christmas. I would think that the final game of the regular season against the Chargers is going to mean something. 10 days to prepare for that.
Yeah, absolutely. So when you look at it that way, that means more time for preparation for this staff, which is has proven itself pretty well. So yeah, all in all, as it lays out, nothing is ever easy in the NFL. Every single team in the league now is going through their schedule, or at least the fans and the media of those teams, and kind of trying to break it down. I get a chuckle out of assessing who has the easiest road. There's no easy road in the NFL. I mean, you play either 9 home games and 8 road games, or 8 home games and 9 road games, and you have a Monday night game. You have Thursday night games to negotiate. Everybody has the same thing to negotiate. And quite frankly, all we know is what teams were like last year, which is no guarantee for their performance this year. There's no, I mean, look, the Indianapolis Colts weren't a particularly good football team last year, or Tennessee. Can we guarantee that in weeks 1 and 2 that they're going to be as bad of football teams as they were a year ago? No, the answer is no. You just don't know. The variables change all the time. But all in all, this is a, and it doesn't make any difference whether it's a schedule you can work with. It is a schedule that you can work with, but it's the schedule you have.
Okay, so let's look at big games in theory, nationally televised games. Monday night game against the Bengals in September. Thursday night games against the Raiders. That one's going to be at home. Then Thursday night, Christmas in Kansas City. We've known about that for a while. Sunday night game in Washington. Bruce, I bring this up every once in a while because you were not around for the heyday of the Denver Broncos with Peyton Manning. Then again, you weren't there for the heyday of Patrick Mahomes in Kansas City either. You kind of left Wichita at the wrong time. Got some bad news for you. With that, it was a staple in the Peyton Manning era to see Jim Nantz in Denver every Sunday. Every Sunday. They should have just given him a room at Empower Field because he was here so often. But it had gotten to a point, since you got here, that when Jim Nantz was in town, which was rare if ever, but when he was, Jim Nantz is in town. That's going to be the featured game. It suddenly, over the last 8 years or so, became a big deal. And you know you're a big deal if you're playing the 225 game. If you're playing the 205 game, you're packed with everybody else. Mm-hmm. You're one of many cattle in the herd. The Broncos have two, for lack of a better phrase, Jim Nantz, Tony Romo games. Those aren't national television games like Monday Night Football, Sunday Night Football, but it is the featured game.
Right.
It is the only game of the day on Sunday in that 2 o'clock time frame that will allow you to watch the end of the game unencumbered from anything else. And the Broncos have two of those.
Yep.
One against the Cowboys, one against the Packers. And then, so that's 6, in theory, featured games.
Yeah.
And then throw in, let's see where the Broncos are at. Let's see where the Chargers are at the end of the season, which could be flexed into Sunday Night Football. The NFL has taken notice that the Broncos aren't back to the Peyton Manning era, but they're a team worth watching.
Yeah. Great young, ascending quarterback, young quarterback, proven coach, head coach, coming off of a playoff with expectations to be better this season, and no reason, by the way, to not have those expectations. They aren't rooted in hope, and we've talked about this a lot over the years. Hope is never a good plan. They look for all the world, as long as they stay healthy, and that's always the huge X factor, as a team with enough depth and talent to be a team that has to be reckoned with. So it's an exciting season for a lot of reasons, many of which you just touched upon. The fact that you basically have 7 standalone games where the attention is going to be squarely on the Denver Broncos and whomever they're playing on that particular weekend. So, yeah, it's an exciting time right now for the return of relevance and competitiveness and postseason relevance for the Denver Broncos. It's been too long in the making, but here we are.
Coming up after the break, Nuggets, Game 6 tonight against the Oklahoma City Thunder. I think the question for David Adelman should be this. And David, I'd recommend thinking about this now instead of making this an in-game decision. Should you play Nikola Jokic for the entire second half? Think about scenarios on whether or not you're going to do that, because the history suggests don't do it again. That's next.
Spice up your next night out at Nola Jane and Lodo. Authentic Cajun cuisine like andouille sausage gumbo with dirty rice, crawfish etouffee, as well as 6 different po' boys like soft-shell crab and shrimp. Come in before or after a game at Ball Arena. Host a party or party on their rooftop deck overlooking Market Street during happy hour from 11 a.m. to 5. Plus, Nola Jane caters, delivers, and the kitchen is open late night. Make Nola Jane your new favorite spot to eat, drink, and party like it's Mardi Gras.
Sasquatch and Wildcard Casinos in Blackhawk have another incredible promotion. They'll be giving away a Ford Bronco Raptor or nearly $30,000 in cash the weekend of May 23rd. Get finalist entries from 10 a.m. until midnight during their daily cash drawings every 45 minutes or by redeeming player points. And all daily cash drawings that don't get picked are eligible for a second chance drawing on Wednesdays, and that can turn into extra cash. Sasquatch and Wildcard Casinos, a family-owned casino that treats you like family.
Everyone has their favorite barbecue spot. Mine, Smokin' Dave's Barbecue and Brew. My favorites, slowly smoked ribs, smoked corned beef Reuben, smoked meatloaf with a portobello balsamic cream sauce. Don't forget about Smokin' Dave's 16-hour smoked brisket and pork with one of their 4 homemade barbecue sauces. Great sides, you bet. Barbecue beans made with pork and brisket and their southern corned bake. Man, you gotta try it. Plus, they have amazing non-barbecue entrees on the menu. Go where I go, Smokin' Dave's Barbecue and Brew in North Denver.
Ever wondered where city and county fleet vehicles go when they retire? Now's your chance to find out and score big. Imagine driving away with a great deal on a reliable vehicle. For over 45 years, Roller Auction has been the trusted source for government fleet vehicles and equipment. Trucks, SUVs, sedans, and more, all selling to the highest bidder. Don't miss out. Visit roller.bid/hot takes to get auction updates today. Your next vehicle could be just a click away.
Everyone has their favorite sports bar. Mine, the Sportsbook Bar and Grill in Highlands Ranch in the DTC. Both locations are everything a sports bar should be. An upscale menu with 12 different burgers, outstanding wings, and my favorite, the Philly cheesesteak egg rolls. They've got every game on the NFL Sunday Ticket, MLB Extra Innings, NHL Center Ice, NBA League Pass, plus soccer, rugby, and UFC. Sportsbook is a hangout bar or great for private parties. The Sportsbook Bar and Grill in Highlands Ranch, the DTC, and coming soon to Parker. They are the sports bar. Welcome back. Hot Takes Goodman and Haertl. Memorial Day is coming up quickly. Are you going to have people over? Are you going to cater in? My suggestion is, if you don't like to cook, if you don't feel like cooking, I'd highly recommend you cater in from Smokin' Dave's Barbecue and Brew. Here is a great suggestion for you. Something off the menu. It's under family meals. It's called the Big Kahuna Belly Buster. What is that? A full slack of St. Louis ribs, a whole chicken, half pound of pulled pork, beef brisket, 4 large sides, and the sides are absolutely fantastic, from mac and cheese to coleslaw. The fries are amazing as well. Everything is great off that menu. As I've said many times about Smokin' Dave's, it's not just the best barbecue spot in town. It is one of the best restaurants in town. By the way, the Big Kahuna Belly Buster serves 5 to 7 people. If you want to double that, it's going to be under a couple $100 to feed everybody. And by the time you go to the grocery store and buy everything, you're spending over $200. Let Smokin' Dave's Barbecue do it for you. They'll be more than happy to. Go check them out off of 36th and Pecos. Time now for What's Trending.
What's Trending is presented by Nola Jane in the heart of Lodo. No one does Cajun cuisine better than Nola Jane. Go see why their award-winning menu is the best in town.
Bruce, I want to take a step back before we take a step forward. When we look at Game 7 against the Minnesota Timberwolves last year, and if the Nuggets are fortunate, they will have the opportunity to have a Game 7 against the Timberwolves this year, because Minnesota has advanced to the Western Conference Final again. With that, Game 7 last year, Nuggets had a big lead going into the fourth quarter. One of the biggest criticisms I made of Michael Malone was, with that type of lead, why did you keep Jokic in there? Just keep to the same thing that you were doing before. Keep what has worked. You take them out 2 minutes before the end of the third quarter, let them sit for a couple of minutes in a commercial break, into the fourth quarter, bring them back fresh. Apparently, David Adelman did not learn from that lesson because he did the same exact thing against Oklahoma City, ironically with a lead. 3 of 4 times Jokic has played the entire second half, the Nuggets have lost. We have seen enough of this to know that this is a pattern. You play Jokic an entire second half, he's eventually going to run out of gas, more than likely. Although he was the best Nuggets player on the floor in that fourth quarter, it just seemed like everybody else ran out of gas. If the Nuggets are up by 8, down by 8, or the score is tied, with 2 minutes to go in the third quarter of tonight's game, Game 6, what should Adelman do?
Probably not ask Nikola Jokic what he wants to do, because we know what Nikola Jokic wants to do, right? And look, I get it. Michael Malone showed us this. David Adelman is in the same boat. We talk about it all the time. The thinness of the roster. The margin for error for the Nuggets is so much more thin than it is for teams that have the deeper benches and the talent that goes with it. See the Oklahoma City Thunder. So there is a natural inclination to stick with your bell cow regardless. But I will say this, if you can look at the data and if you can believe the data with your own eyes, and if you can see a way through for higher level of effectiveness with him coming off the bench sometime early in the fourth quarter, it makes sense to do that. Having said that, you know as well as I do, it's an emotional thing, and in the heat of the moment, I think it's a remarkably hard thing to do, especially when he's the guy pulling the train, like he was in Game 5. He was the guy that, I mean, what did he have? 40, whatever it was, points. He was the guy pulling the train. But you got to sometimes, discretion has to win out over valor or over silliness. And this may be a situation tonight. I think it's a hell of a lot harder to do if you're 6 or 7 or 8 points down in the last 2 minutes of the third period.
Yep.
Then it really becomes a gut check.
Bruce, this was done when the Nuggets were up.
Yeah.
And I heard people say, whether it's on social media or on the radio, well, Adelman was just showing he wanted to, put his foot on the throat of the Thunder. Fine. Maybe that's what you're trying to do, but it wasn't smart. I get the killer instinct thing, but the history suggests it's not a smart move.
Especially when someone's playing about 43 minutes a game, and you continue to add total time played with each game that goes by.
Tread on tires.
Tread on the tires, right? Tread on the tires.
Minneapolis 500, if you're going to play Nikola Jokic the entire second half, eventually that tread's going to wear down, and you don't have an option for a pit stop, which means sitting him down. That tread's going to go. There's a better chance you're going to lose the race.
And he did get some time earlier in that game when Julian Strawther was actually in the game. And I thought, and the Nuggets did a really good job of holding serve. There's no guarantee that they'll be in that kind of situation tonight. There's a lot. Look, this is desperation time for the Nuggets. Desperation can make you do odd things.
Well, yeah.
That you normally might not do. And let's face it, David Adelman, and I think that we can agree, I think this has been a fairly impressive audition for David Adelman. I think he's done, I don't know where we would grade it. It's not an A. It's not an A+, but he has done a good job in the time that he has had to kind of massage and manipulate this roster to get them as deep as they are into these playoffs. But he's still kind of learning it on the fly. So what did he take in his breakdowns? And as it relates particularly to Nikola Jokic, because he was asked that question immediately after the game, and he didn't dismiss it. He admitted it. He admitted that it was an issue and that he would have to rethink it as he moved forward. It'll be interesting to see what he comes away with tonight.
The best outcome tonight is clearly a Nuggets win.
Sure.
But I'm going to throw two scenarios at you, because if one of these scenarios comes true, we might be saying, would the other scenario have been better? So here are the two scenarios. Oklahoma City jumps out to a lead, double-digit lead. They're up between 10 and 15 points for the entire game, and they're never really threatened. That's scenario one. Clearly, Oklahoma City wins that game. Or the Nuggets have a 9-point lead heading into the fourth quarter, and they run out of gas and blow it again. Which scenario for a loss is worse? The Nuggets are never really in it, or they blow another fourth quarter lead?
Well, they both indicate to me the same thing: trouble in the roster. You've got to figure out what you're going to do with this team.
No.
Forward.
That's for the offseason. We know we can get into that.
What you mean in the moment?
What would feel worse if you are a Nuggets fan?
I think blowing an 8 or 9 or 10-point lead would be
worse than getting blown out.
Blown out like by 20?
Yeah. What's worse? I'm not saying the Thunder are now going to score 88 points in the first half.
I will say the blowout is worse. If you're getting blown out on your home floor in a must-win game, I think that at least if you are in a situation going to the fourth quarter with a lead, you have done enough through 3 quarters to at least prove that you belong on this stage at this time. Obviously, we've got the last 2 games that are gnawing at us a little bit, and probably gnawing at the Nuggets as well. So that's a cautionary tale. But I will take you're still good enough to get there through 3 quarters, and you're not getting blown out on your own home floor in an important game.
MPJ said after the loss in Game 5, we've played well enough to win the last 2 games. A lot of the reason we lost is because I'm not helping contribute.
Yeah.
I'm looking at myself individually and how I can try and help the team win, because I haven't been doing that. I haven't been contributing in any way right now. What does this say about Adelman's confidence in his bench that he is probably playing MPJ at 40% and not giving more time to Strother and Watson at 100%?
Yeah. Well, the message is obvious, isn't it? It really is. And the problem with MPJ right now is that he had the game that he had on Friday night. And by the way, it's not a problem. It was great last Friday night when he was knocking down 21, shooting a high percentage.
You know what you call that? A death surge.
I knew you were going to come with that.
Well, explain to everybody what a death surge is.
It's those moments before you pass where all of a sudden you have energy and everything is in front of you, and you've got and then all of a sudden, boom, you recognize that it's fool's gold.
I will tell you this: if I ever am in a situation, and I'll only be in that situation one time.
Right.
If I ever have a death surge, I will remember this moment on the show is the last thing I remember.
I hope that you have better things to remember at that point. However, it is a fond thing to remember things that we've done on this show. Yeah. Look, Michael Porter Jr., here's my thinking on Michael Porter Jr. tonight. He's got to be on a very short leash. I mean, if you're going to start him, and I think that they will start him, and they'll start him for reasons that you laid out 2 or 3 weeks ago. there is always the promise, not the promise, but the possibility that this guy could hit a couple of shots early on, and then all of a sudden, the pain that he's playing with and the immobility that he's playing with kind of loosens up a little bit. And oh my God, now all of a sudden he's an asset. I mean, the thing is, they've played 2 games in a row where he has shot 14%, but they follow a game where he shot like 75% and hit 21 points. So I will put it back on some of your remarks from a few weeks ago of there's always a possibility that a shooter can shoot. Having said that, if you get indications early on, I thought that, look, I don't know if I want Julian Strother in there in high leverage moments late in the game.
Right.
That's not what I'm saying. But if you can get away with him and you're playing his zone, so you're not asking him to stop the ball somewhere in man, and you can help him a little bit defensively, then maybe that's an answer for you. It just signals to the very tough task that Adelman has trying to construct. Eric, we're at the point now, never mind the depth, just trying to construct 5 players as starters that you can trust and count on.
Right. So tonight's game, right around the same time last year when it was Game 6 and Game 7 against Minnesota at this time, just one day apart. The Game 7 debacle last year was on May 19th. This year, if it goes to a Game 7, it'll be May 18th. The debacle in Game 6 was on the 16th. Tonight's game is on the 15th. With that, do the Nuggets win tonight?
Yes. And
well, you say that. I don't know if you did not see your own body language.
No.
I'll tell you your body language. Ask me the same question. I'll answer the way you did so you can see what you just did.
Them do the Nuggets win tonight?
Yes.
Well, that's kind of where I am.
Yeah.
I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt. And Mayday comes a little later. I mean, they've had their own kind of Maydays here in the last couple of years, and I don't think that they can win a game. I wouldn't expect them to win a Game 7 in Oklahoma City, but I'm not concerned about that in any shape or form. I'm concerned about them getting it done tonight. And I'm not going to overly, maybe I will overly simplify it. You hit some shots, and this thing looks pretty good. If you hit some shots, this thing looks doable. Other than that, listen, this is a team that shot 50.1% during the regular season. They are shooting 40% in this series. You give a lot of credit to Oklahoma City, but for God's sakes, you've got to knock down open shots. And believe it or not, they are getting open shots.
Yes, they are.
They just aren't hitting them. Without that, it's going to be a struggle, a real struggle, because it allows Oklahoma City to send more meat to Nikola Jokic. And that is not something that the Nuggets need tonight. Big fella needs to be able to move, to be fluid, and to be able to create. Do that, and you've got a pretty good chance to win this game, and we'll figure out Game 7 later.
All right, that's going to do it for us. Hot Takes, Goodman and Haertl. Enjoy the game tonight. We'll be talking about it tomorrow.